Hi everybody and welcome to my video about radiotherapy. You may have seen on my Facebook page that on Thursday last week I had a call at 4 o'clock in the afternoon saying just ringing you about what will happen when you go to your radiotherapy session next Monday. And I should have had a letter and I should have had another phone call a few weeks back, but had not received either. So it was all a bit of a surprise, but quite a nice one, really. Knowing that this is the last week of active treatment. So I'm very excited about that, as you can see. And it's amazing. I'm sitting here planning my talk today and just thinking about the time that's gone by. Now, it's 10 weeks post chemo on Friday. 10 weeks has gone by, which is quite amazing, really. I am 30 days in on tamoxifen, so I've done my first pack. I take my last tablet out of my first pack tomorrow, and I'm 3 days in to my radiotherapy. So the days are going by. And I suppose to report on side effects, I'm still getting my hot flushes, which I think is probably now expected with taking the tamoxifen, and they are quite, they can be quite bad at times, but I am noticing certain triggers, which I can talk about in a later video, but hot flushes is one, and joint ache is the other, which I've had really since the second chemo regime. Haven't changed, so tamoxifen has not made any difference. I can quite honestly say I am not experiencing anything new other than what I was experiencing before. And then with radiotherapy, I'll talk about side effects in a minute, but the one I suppose that's hitting me a little bit is I feel a bit tired. But I'll talk about that in a moment. But things are moving on, and for those of you that are listening to this and watching this and you're just starting out on your journey, it may seem like a long journey ahead, but it ends, it comes to an end, and it's quite surprising when it does. And hopefully, you know, in the future videos that I will be putting on, I'm going to be putting lots of little tips and tricks to keep you motivated and inspired through that journey that you're on through cancer treatment. Anyway, back to radiotherapy. So let's begin with the sort of standard process that you'll probably expect, with maybe a few differences because of the coronavirus. So if you're watching this and that has finished, then there's a few extra precautions, I suppose, that are in place because of the virus. My radiotherapy treatment is over 5 days. The regular treatment would be over 3 weeks, and you'd normally get 15 sessions. Because of the virus and recent trials showing that having 5 days with a bigger boost of radiation is as good as 15, most or a lot of people are doing the quicker version because the least times you're in hospital, the better right now. So that's mine. It's over 5 days. So at the moment it is, so I drive over to the hospital, which is about 25 minutes away. I go on my own because you have to go in on your own. I go into the hospital, I get my temperature checked as soon as I walk through the door. And if that's okay, then you continue. I then go and put my registration number into the car parking, so I get my free car parking, and make sure I sanitize my hands. I go to reception, I tell them I'm there, and then I go and take my seat. And then on the screen in the waiting area comes up my name and the room that I will be having my treatment in. Apart from the first day, I then go into that room on my own. I go into the waiting area of those rooms on my own. And at the moment, because of the virus, there is just 2 seats in that waiting area, one for one radiation room and one for the other. and we're 2 meters apart, and we're kind of sitting as if you were playing a game of cars at home, and one's the passenger seat and one's the driver's seat, so you're sitting sort of in a line, 2 meters distance. You then go in, you're asked your birth date, you're asked your address, and then you're welcomed into the radiation room. The first day, expect to be in there a bit longer. So I would say about 30 minutes. But the actual time you're in there on the bed is probably about 15 minutes. And then I would say today and yesterday, it's between 15 to 20 minutes that I'm actually in that room, or actually in the hospital. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit of science here so that it kind of makes a little bit of sense. But the radiotherapy is given, or in my case is given, as an external beam, and it's delivered by a machine. So the machine that I showed you in the first clip was a combination of a scanner and a radiotherapy machine. This one, which is called the Linac, is more of just a screen that moves around your body. This one is making sure that stronger beams go into the targeted area and very little radiation affects the healthy tissues around it. So the machine is very, very accurate. And that is why we have to go to our planning meeting to make sure that they get all the measurements right. And that is why on the first day you're there a bit longer, because you're just making sure that the machine is set up for you particularly, and that they've taken all those measurements and they've made sure that that plan that was done a couple of weeks ago is accurate and correct. As the cancer in my case was on the left side, I was informed way back I would be asked to do something called respiratory gaiting, which is a kind of controlled breathing where you hold your breath when the ray is being targeted, so that it moves your heart or your major organs out of the way. Because of the virus, this has also changed. So this is not something they're expecting me to do at the moment. And it is, again, through the planning process and the machine that they are going to ensure that it doesn't hit any major organs. So basically then in the room, you go in and I've had 3 nurses, and those 3 nurses have been the same nurses every single day. You go in and you have a little changing area where you take your top clothes off. And then you go into the room and you are asked to lie down on a bed which has got a knee rest in it, a head rest, and your arm rests. So you go and lie on that bed. You put the nurses put your arms in the arm rest holders, and they then make sure every day that your body is in exactly the right position, ready for the treatment. That takes a couple of minutes. I've got to say it's really nice in mine because there's music playing. So I've had a bit of 80s, a bit of a-ha yesterday, and a bit of Michael Jackson today, which has lightened it up very much. And really, really, really still, because any movement can affect the way that the body is positioned. Those 3 nurses leave the room. And then there's lots of clanking and noises going on, I suppose warning noises that treatment's going to start, and then the actual machine is moving around and making lots of noise. But it literally is for about 5 minutes. So you're lying there, and the machine, in my case, moves from my left side all the way around to my right. And before you know it, the nurses are coming back in to say that it's finished. And then you literally just get up, put your clothes back on and go, and that's it. So it's very straightforward, consider it, compared to chemo. A lot of people, I mean, it is quite a worrying experience because it is, of course, radiation. And, I have been told that there is numerous side effects to watch out for. One is, of course, where the skin that's being targeted by the rays is going to probably get very tender. It could get some prickly heat rash on it. It might get tight and itchy. It might swell up. So there's a lot of changes that I will experience in that area over the next 3 weeks. And they do say that over these next 3 weeks, it's particularly after the first week, you may start to feel uncomfortable. And the big thing here is to get some really good moisturising cream. Now, I've been using Tropic, as I've been saying, and I've got the healing balm and the oil at the moment, which the radiation nurse was quite a bit cautious about using oil on your skin with the radiation. So I'm at the moment using some very thick prescribed moisturiser that they've given me free, which I can then get a prescription on it. But I'm going to do a little bit of research now and see if I can find something in the Tropic range that is, of course, it's plant-based, it's organic, it's got no chemicals in it. But it's other side effects could be a change in appearance. You could also find that you might even get a sore throat, chest pain. It just really depends where I think that they're aiming the radiation at. And you can also experience hair loss if it's under your arm, and shoulder stiffness. So I am finding that I'm getting quite a bit of shoulder stiffness from being positioned up like this. I also found initially that I had a pain underneath my left breast, which I was told was my nerve endings. So paracetamol solved that. But the big thing is it does kind of knock you out a little bit. It's quite amazing how it makes you tired. So I am finding that after the treatment on Monday and Tuesday, sort of around 6 o'clock, I started to feel a bit tired. Today I've been generally more tired all day. It's not stopping me from doing anything, and I'm still carrying on. I'm still exercising. So it isn't really getting in the way, but it is there. But I am sleeping brilliantly. So, you know, I'm getting my recovery overnight. I think that is it. I think that's explaining to you radiotherapy. I am going to put a video on next week about the promised hot flushes, which is going to go on next week. And I can give you more detail on how I'm feeling, because I think that would be quite important a week after, how it's affecting me next week. And I'll just keep you informed as to my journey through this and what's occurring, so that you can get a bit of an idea of what to expect once radiotherapy is finished. Anyway, take care and have a good week.